So, Bijal, take me back to sort of early 2020. What did you, where were you at? What were you feeling? What were you seeing in the mirror?
Yeah. So going back to 2020, I think I was actually really uncomfortable at this point. So I've always been quite uncomfortable with the way I look, and it kind of stemmed from comments being made. I was when I was 16, I was anorexic. So, I went through constant conversations at school with counselors and the doctors. I was on a nutrition plan, and I don't know if you've ever seen those drinks. I don't even know if I pronounce it properly. Nourishment.
Yeah, yeah.
Dad literally used to force me to drink that because I was so anorexic. I wasn't getting any food down me. He was like, this is going to help you. So, where I went from that extreme of being anorexic and, people saying, oh, do you not eat, to being like, oh, wow, you look healthy. Oh, you've put on a bit of weight. You swelled up a bit. So it went from one extreme to the other. And then, 2020 hit and it was lockdown. And as you can imagine, during lockdown, I don't know if you'll remember the trends, but it was like the banana bread trends and all these things happening on TikTok. So I jumped on it. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I want to cook all these new things, bake all these new things, but I put on weight rapidly. And prior to this, I always kind of yo-yoed out of keto. And I think it's when you're working, it's a lot easier to kind of prepare your meals because you're going into work the next day. I work in central London, so I knew I had to prepare my salads and my chicken and veg. That's what keto was like for me. So coming into lockdown where I was open to kind of food in the house and, my family eating unhealthy food like crisps and chocolates. Like I put on weight massively, and I sat down one day and my brother, he did RNT, and his transformation was amazing. I was like, do you know what? I really wish that I could do something like this. And he was like, so why don't you? And I was like, well, because my birthday's coming up. Like, I can't commit to this. And he was like, so you're telling me that you're uncomfortable with the way you look, it's mentally taken a toll on you, but you're not going to do anything about it because your birthday is coming up one day. And when he said that, I was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. And when he broke that down to me, I was like, do you know what? What's more important, one day in the year or, actually getting into shape? Because that's what it was for me. I needed to get into shape. But also, even in the application when applying for RNT, I wrote on there, this isn't just a physical transformation for me. It was also a mental transformation. I needed that switch. I was so unhappy with myself. I was in a place where I would feed on little things that would happen. And, I would take comments from people too literally, and I'd think about it for ages and ages. And you know what? When you're not feeling your best physically, you're probably not feeling your best mentally too. So I think 2020 was a little bit of a dark place for me. When I was looking in the mirror, I was thinking, wow, like you're not looking good. Your clothes are getting tight. When you stand against a lot of my friends are really naturally slim. So when I stood next to them, I'd feel like, I need to wear maybe baggier clothes. But that's not the way to live life. Like, I shouldn't have to think twice about what I wear just because I don't want to look big. But yeah, when I was in 2020, it was a dark place. And when I was looking in the mirror, I just was not feeling comfortable with myself. And after that conversation with my brother, I signed up to RNT.
What was the conversation going on in your mind when you looked at yourself?
It was just like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I was just so unhappy. I was just looking at myself and I was thinking, like, who are you? Like, why have you come to this stage? How have you gone from this extreme to this? I don't know. I was just going through a lot, and I know this is really bad. It was really bad now that I think back to it. But when I was working in central London, my mentality was, I'll start a diet on Monday. I'll start dieting on Monday. Monday afternoon hits and my manager's like, McDonald's, everyone. Like, no, I'm not going to go. And then I would go. And then every day it was like McDonald's, KFC, Chalangos. I was constantly eating out. And it was so normal. Another aspect, putting food aside, is the alcohol. Like, when you work in central London, alcohol is a big part of it. It's a big part of your job. I don't want to say that, but it's true. Like, that's the vibe when you're working in central London. As soon as it hits 3 p.m, especially when you're working in a WeWorks building where there's beer tap downstairs, everyone wants to go downstairs and get a beer, or, you know, like, I just think I was at a stage where I was just really unhappy with the way I looked. And when I looked in the mirror, I wouldn't want to go out. I wouldn't want to take pictures. Ask any of, like, all my cousins will vouch for this, or friends. Like, we went Mexico in 2020 at the beginning, and I was like, guys, like, I don't want to be a part of the pictures. You know, I just feel really, I never told them that that's how I felt, but that is how I felt. I didn't want people taking pictures of me because I couldn't control the angle. Like, I know if I put my camera a certain way, I'm not going to look that big. But when other people take pictures of me, I can't control that. And yeah, I think that's emotionally how I was feeling. I was just feeling, I was looking at myself and I was unrecognizable. I don't know how I got to this. I don't know how I allowed myself to get to this. And I think a lot of it goes from my relationship with food. So as I explained, when I was 16, I was anorexic and I didn't have a good relationship with food. I think this is what happened. When I was really, really young, I used to eat really, really slow. And I used to get rushed to eat faster. So that naturally became an issue because I started being like, eating is a chore. I didn't want to eat because, you know, I wasn't eating fast enough. Then, like, sometimes, you know, to speed me up, they'd say stuff like, oh, if you don't eat, the ghosts are going to come. And I'll be like, oh, okay, need to eat. So I went from that extreme of, you know, not having a good relationship with food because I almost found it a chore. And I understood that at that point when I was 16, I understood that I had to eat to live. But if I didn't have to eat to live, I would not eat anything in the day and I would be completely fine. Like, I think my day looked like half a sandwich for the whole day and I would just be completely fine. And it did not bother me. Then I obviously went through an extreme process to kind of come out of that phase. Then I went to another extreme. I went to the extreme of, I can eat. Uni, it was a lot of, you know, takeaways and alcohol, and I put on so much weight. And I think that's what it is. It's my relationship with food where I've just not understood how to eat food, enjoy it, and embrace myself, because it's always been two extremes, which is why I always ended up going towards keto. Because keto, I would see some results, but it just wasn't sustainable. Because after I'd done the phase of keto for the event that I was doing it for, I went back to eating carbs and I would put the weight back on. So I think, yeah, a lot of it boils down to my relationship with food.
Let's go back to the onset of anorexia. How did that experience happen? What was going on in the years building up to it, where you got diagnosed? What was going on with your relationship with food? You mentioned that you found it a chore, but why was it something you didn't want to do? Why was almost starving yourself part of your mindset at the time?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I was 16, and I think like the most dramatic thing that happened in my life probably at that time is probably I fell out with some friends. So it's not like anything serious was going on in my life, but I think it was just kind of, I think it's like the small things where I said that, you know, eating became a chore because of the associations I made with it. You know, if I didn't eat my food fast enough, then something bad would happen to me. That's what I associated it with. And so, you know, I think your relationship with food should be natural. It should be something that you want to do. You should be exploring different foods. Okay, I don't like that. That's fine. Move on. Try something else. But I never had that. And I think, I don't really know like what caused the anorexia, but I just know that I wasn't starving myself. It was just how I felt. I just never felt hungry. I just didn't have a good relationship with food. I just didn't want to eat. It was an absolute chore for me.
Well, when we think about the way children perceive events, at the time, something which doesn't seem negative, we can perceive it in a certain way. Like, for example, being told that if you eat too quick, the ghosts are going to, or if you eat too slow, the ghosts are going to arrive. Now, at the time, it might have been said in an innocent way, but you probably perceived it in in a very damaging way. So there was that perception of, oh, if I eat too slow, the ghost can come me. So maybe I just shouldn't eat, because then that whole experience won't happen. And something as innocent as that can actually have a real detrimental impact, because we're so malleable at that age. Our brains are so impressionable to certain things, and we attach our own version of positive or negative to certain experiences, whether they are positive or negative or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this isn't something I realized at the time when I was 16 or even
yeah, you wouldn't, right?
No, but it triggered to me during the process phase. I was on the treadmill, and my treadmill is in the shed. And in the shed, I had those cans that I refer to, the nourishment cans. And I was looking at it, and I was just like, oh, how funny that I went from drinking that to running on the treadmill now. And that's when it all came to me. I was like, hold on a second. I went through it and I forgot about it, honestly. Like, it was just a big part of my life, but something I put to the back of my head. And then I was like, wait, I was anorexic. I used to drink that. And actually, why did that happen? When you're in the process phase and you're going and you're on the treadmill where you're running and you have time and you have thoughts in your head, you start thinking, why did that happen? And that's where it all came to me. I was like, oh yeah, okay. Like, it was my relationship with food. It was the way that I felt about food. And that's what caused the anorexia.
How did you feel for potentially the first time in your life where you removed a lot of the distractions and a lot of the holes that we fill in the day, to suddenly have all this time to think and mull and have a lot of unplugged periods of time where that's where everything starts to come up, and that's where a lot of uncomfortable feelings come? How did you find that first experience? Because something as simple as saying to someone, go for a walk without your phone, is actually a lot harder than we think, right? It sounds a very easy thing, but it's actually very strange. It can feel quite lonely, and it can be very interesting if you're not used to it. Once you get used to it, it's an amazing experience. But how did you find that first time having such free, uncluttered experiences in your day?
I'm not going to cover it up. It was hard. I was crying. I was on that treadmill crying, like, oh my God, these emotions, these thoughts, these things that I'd built up for over years. I now have all this time to think about it. When you're going through the process of the grind, your time and your energy is precious. You have to be careful where you invest that. And I came off social media. It was a place that didn't make me feel happy. And where I was already so low on energy, so low on time, I just thought to myself, why do I want to invest that energy on social media where there's all these false pretenses, all these things that add to my insecurities? And I even my relationships with certain people, I had to cut it off. Like, it's emotionally draining. The journey is emotionally draining, but it's important to go through it, because you realize so much. You realize the importance of so many little things that you would never have paid attention to. Like, I don't know, even time. I know this sounds crazy, but I didn't realize the importance of time. I didn't realize how many minutes and hours are in a day, and how we don't have enough. And so when you do go for a day, you need to prioritize. What are your priorities? What do you need to get done in a day? Is it scrolling through Instagram? Or is it focusing on your fitness? Is it focusing on getting your work done? Is it focusing on, getting all that done so you can have quality time with your family? But yeah, it was really tough. So I was like, going through these walks and the treadmill, and like a lot of stuff comes to surface. A lot of things you put to the back of your mind, it comes up, because that's all you have. You have time. And it was emotionally upsetting. And, like, the only person I really could speak to was my brother, because he went through the journey, but our journeys are different. He didn't go through the same thing as me. And that's one thing I've realized about this, is that no one's journey is the same. I can't talk to someone about my experience during the grind. Like, some people have reached out to me and they've been like, hey, like, what was your experience like during the grind? And it's not a question I can answer, because whatever my experience is, it will not be the same experience as you. We've had different life journeys. We're probably on different fitness journeys too. Like, it's not something that can be comparable. So yeah, I think, like, going back to the question, it was really tough, but it was really needed, and almost felt like a detox to the body and the mind. And I think, as in that phase, you're getting physically weaker, I would say, but you're getting mentally stronger. You know, yeah, you're spending a lot of time doing steps and fitness and you know, cardio and like at the gym. But in terms of mentally, that's the time where everything comes to the surface, and that's where you decide who you have your relationships with, what's important to you, what matters to you. And for that, you know, the grind was one of like the best things that happened to me. You know, I needed that.
What were some of the realizations you had around the journey from going from anorexia to binge eating, overeating, etc.? How did that play out? You mentioned it briefly, but talk to us about how you went that phase unraveled.
Do you mean like when I went from?
Yeah. How did you come out of the anorexia phase, and how did the next part happen?
Okay, so I think with the anorexia, it was a lot of support. You know, I needed a lot of support. You know, the school, they called my dad in, and I remember the head of year, she called me in, and she was like, well, "We need to talk to your parents. You need to come in." And I was like, "No, you don't need to talk to my parents. Talk to me." And they're like, "No, we need to talk to your parents." So I remember my dad came in, and he was really upset. And it's so sad for my parents, because it's not anything that they're doing wrong. It was me. It was something I was going through. And I don't know, this is probably something you might be able to relate to, but in the Indian culture, what happens is, I feel like an icebreaker is commenting on weight, you know? So I feel like when you meet aunties and uncles after a long time, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Oh, you've lost weight. Oh, you've put on a bit, haven't you?" And I feel like at the time, you know, relatives used to be like, innocently to my parents, like, "Oh, she doesn't eat. Do you not feed her? Ha ha." And I know it was really upsetting for them. And you know what? That made me want to kind of make a change, because it wasn't their fault. It wasn't anything they were doing. It was within me. And I knew that what I was doing to myself was unhealthy. And I didn't want to go for it. And, you know, I used to get a lot of comments at school. I used to be like, "Oh, I can see your bones sticking out." I feel like my whole life it's always been comments about the way I look. And so, like, you know, I just got to a stage where I was like, I just don't want to feel like this. I just don't want to put my parents through this. I don't want to go through this myself. So I took all the support, and, you know, me and my dad, like, we were like, okay, he was like, "Just tell me what foods do you like?" And I was like, "I like sweet corn." So he was like, "Okay, cool." So he'd make all these different dishes and sweet corns, or then he was like, we'd start exploring with food. You know, we started doing it together. We'd be like, "Okay, what do you like eating?" And then we'd kind of find that food and find different recipes in it to try it out. I think really and truly the switch happened from anorexia to binge eating was when I went uni. Like, you're on your own, and the uni lifestyle was crazy. I was living away. I was in Nottingham. And you don't have time. You don't have time to cook food. You don't have time to sit down and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to cook myself a nice chicken with salad," or whatever it is. You'd opt for easy food. You'd opt for noodles, or you'd opt for beans on toast, or, you know, the local takeaway. Eating out was a big thing at uni. And I think that's where, and the alcohol, I don't think people realize how much alcohol plays a role in your weight. So yeah, it was a combination of all of that kind of led me to think, okay, I'm really enjoying food. I love eating out. So this was the problem. I was enjoying food, but I wasn't enjoying food in the right way. I was enjoying food by eating out. I wasn't enjoying food by making it and enjoying it myself. And I think that's where the switch happened. It was literally at uni. And I think after that, I worked straight away. As soon as I graduated, I started working in central London. And a big part of working in central London is all these amazing food places, food markets, food stores. You know, you don't have time. So I used to get half an hour lunches. I don't even know if that's normal, but I always used to get half an hour lunches. So I didn't have time to, to eat food. I'd have to go and get something and quickly eat it. So I think that's what it was. It was the environment that I was in.
Yeah, and on reflection, you said quite a few times you didn't have time. On reflection, do you think it was just more you didn't have time to think about what was going on rather than actual time? Because at uni, we actually have a lot of time. We probably have more time. If you look back, you're like, well, uni
Yeah,
was easy, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's like it's not an excuse, but it is. Yeah, we have a lot of time, but when you're living with other people, like a kitchen, you know, and it's not like the cleanest place because people are leaving a mess. You don't want to eat. You don't want to eat there. Like I remember once, I was in Nottingham and my family came up for a wedding in Leicester. They came to drop me to Nottingham, and my mum saw the kitchen. She was like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "You can't live here." She literally cleaned everyone's mess that day, and I felt so bad. But it's true. Like another thing is like it's environment. It's a lot to do with environment. Like, yeah, we definitely had so much time at uni, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to put it down to the kitchen not being clean.
But
Yeah, I reckon.
yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
reckon. Yeah, go on.
no, that's a very legitimate reason. I mean, my kitchen was disgusting, and it really put me off like cooking and put me off cleaning anything because I was like, I don't even want to get involved with the cleaning of this because it's too disgusting. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think like, I think as well, like, when it comes to cooking, right? Another big factor is cleaning. Well, like that for me at the time, anyway. So I was like, okay, if a decision maker for me would be like, okay, yeah, cool, cook, like that's fine, put it in the oven, but then you're gonna have to wash up, and it's really bad. But that used to throw me off at uni. Like it was like the whole process of going to Tesco's, buying your ingredients, making something, putting it in the oven, eating it, cleaning it. It was like it became a process, and it was just not something. But yeah, you know what? Talking about this, I actually wanted to bring this up. So when I was doing the process phase, I know I don't know what everyone's journey is like, but we obviously have the CTP phase. And in the CTP phase, we obviously have 2 weeks where we kind of stick to the same meals, right? And I think that's what it is anyway. So we stick to the same meals and we kind of eat. And it made me realize I don't need variety. I kid you not, guys, like for 13 weeks of my process phase, 13 weeks, I ate the same food every day. And the only reason I switched it up was because my calories changed. If my calories, and I couldn't make it work, if my calories didn't change, I would still be eating the same food. And my food was oats, chicken salad, and dal, which is lentils and rice. And my coach used to laugh at me. She'd be like, I can't believe you can eat like lentils and rice every day. And I was like, yeah, I know. But there was one time in the whole process that I decided, okay, let me switch it up from lentils and rice to something else. And I did it, and it just didn't hit. It just wasn't the same. It didn't fill me up. And the home flavors, it wasn't there. And it just made me realize that like looking back on all of it, I enjoy food, and I don't necessarily need a variety. Like I know it works for other people. I know what I did wouldn't work for other people, but it just made me realize that I don't need variety. I just need to find food that I like and stick with those.
so when it came to we got take it back to like May, June 2020 or time, just about when you're about to start the journey. How did that first step feel? You know, how did that feeling of okay, now I'm going to change my lifestyle? How did that initial bit feel? Because there's a lot of inertia around that time. How do you think, okay, I'm going to get going now?
Yeah, I know this might sound quite strange, but like my whole life, I've always been average at whatever I do, right? So whether that's test results, exam results, baking, cooking, sports, whatever it is, I've always been average, right? So when I decided I'm going to do this, when I wrote that application, I think one of the questions in the application is, what do you want to achieve from this? And I was like, I want to be mentally and physically stronger. I think before I started that journey, the 13th of July, the day before, I ate whatever I wanted. And I said to myself before I went to sleep, I was like, this is it. Put that life behind you. Look forward to what's about to come. And that's all it took. I just didn't want to be average at life. I wanted to make this work. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to feel unhappy. And that's why taking that first step, And throughout the journey, it's not been that tough for me. It's something I said before I started the journey that I want to do to the fullest with my 100%. And that's what I did. And I'm still doing, like this isn't something that was a choice for me. But also I think I had a lot of support. I had a really good coach, and she was really understanding, and she was also going through a similar process. So, it was easy to talk to her. And when you talk to her, that she wasn't just saying it to make you feel better. That she knows what you're going through. And also my brother and my friends, that they were all on the journey as well. So we had a WhatsApp group and we'd talk about it. But I never really had to it was never a drastic change for me. It was just something that I said from the offset, this is it, your life's behind you. And I've looked forward. And to be honest, when you're eating food that you like and you're working out and you're feeling good about yourself, it doesn't matter. Like those things don't matter. Yeah.
So there's no like, oh, I need to get the flywheel going. I need to get my real momentum. I need to start habit stacking. It was literally just 12th of July. That's the old Bijal. 13th of July. It's a new start.
Yeah, but I would say like when I started R&T, I was working in a company where obviously we went into lockdown and we were working from home. And so, I've not had to experience the challenges of working in central London whilst being on my fitness journey. And also like, my company knew the kind of worker I was, and my manager was so chilled. He was just like, manage your own time. So in that sense, it was easy for me to do that. But now that I started a new job, it's not that simple. It's been different. And, I've had to kind of go down back to CTP and kind of reestablish a new structure that works for me. My work is really demanding. I have different time zones. I have Australia and US, and I'm in the UK. And, sometimes I have global calls at 10 p.m. and I have to make it because I have to. And it's been challenging this time around. It wasn't challenging when I first joined, but it's been challenging this time around, just trying to create a structure that works. Also, like with investment, if you don't stick to food times, you suffer. You'll feel it. And so it was like a mixture of trying to get a good balance with my work, trying to find a structure that works with me in terms of fitness, getting my gym in, and then also in terms of finding time to eat my food at certain times. So I would say it's been challenging this time around, but because I've done it from the offset, it was okay. Like I knew what to expect. I just needed to find something that worked for me.
So a lot of people get to the point where they're in the shape of their life. It's all very exciting. They've achieved something amazing. But 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, it's back at square one. The typical yo-yo, typical rebound. I've talked about it more times than I can count. How did you avoid that dreaded rebound? And how have you? Let's talk about that transition, because whilst you had an amazing experience up to that checkpoint, the time after, as we know, is a lot harder because now there's no tangible goal. You've now got to make it a way of life. You've got more challenges like with your work and just day to day. There's no, I've got this big shoot coming up. Talk to us about that transition and integration into, because now you're coming up to 6 months post checkpoint. So you're well integrated now. How's that experience been?
It's been tough. It's been a lot of conversations with my coach and a lot of listening to other people's podcasts that have been through it. It's good to know other people have been through it, but it's so hard where you spent your whole life. Well, for me, like after I went uni, when I've spent my whole life dieting, that's my way of that was all I ever knew. That's all I've ever known is to diet. And so now someone's telling me you don't need to diet. You just need to find a way to eat food you like and do this. And I'm like, well, okay, like that's not something I'm used to. It's strange. What do you mean I don't have to diet? And I'm like, what? So you're saying that I can eat like chocolate buttons as long as it fits my macros and calories? They're like, yeah, do what you want. Enjoy your food. Make it what you want. Obviously, that's your choice if you want to do that. But, and that's the thing as well. Like, one thing about my coach is that she wants me to do things. Even if she has a certain opinion, she wants me to do it, go for it, and learn from it. So, like, yeah, I can probably eat chocolate buttons if I wanted. and I did it. And then I learned from how it made me feel. And I was like, actually, no, that's not my way of life. That's not how I want to live. But that's like, that was like the good thing, is like, she wanted me to do trial and error. She wants me to kind of find, because she knows that I've struggled with my relationship with food. So she wants me to figure it out myself. She's there for guidance. But yeah, I think honestly, like, where I did my photo shoot, I have not seen many people after that. So, you know, like, no one's really seen me when I was at my leanest. So now where I have seen people, they've been like, oh my God, you look so good. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, because obviously you would have put on weight since your photo shoot, because it's not a healthy weight to stay at. I'm thinking, oh, I actually forgot that, you know, I even went through something like that. Oh, that's really nice of you to say that I look good. Like, it's just completely something that slipped out of my head. But I think like where you go your whole life from dieting to then basically trying to find a way of life, it's really hard. And you have to come to terms with the fact that you are going to put on like healthy weight. But it's a mental challenge in itself. And I don't know, it's just a really hard phase. It is much harder than process or grind.
Have you found that there's been some level of an identity crisis?
Oh yeah. I think again, like I've not posted my journey on social media yet. It's not because I'm completely ruling it out, but I'm just conflicted. On the one hand, I did this as a personal thing. It's a personal journey to me. And so I just think, you know, I've done it and there's no need to share it with the world. But then on the other hand, where I have shared it with my close families and family and friends, they've now started their own fitness journey, and they're all doing really well, and they're all feeling great. So I'm like, if I can touch someone, like maybe I should share it. I think like then people starting to see me, I was like, okay, like I was like, okay, where they were complimenting me, sorry, for the way I looked, I was like, oh, okay, like this is interesting, because I completely forgot I even went through this process, and this is a new me, like the new slim Bijal, like that is who I am now, and that is my new identity, and my size 8 jeans, that's a new me, like. And so coming to terms with that, I was like, okay, and just forgetting that I even went through the process. But yeah, I think when I like post pictures of myself now, I just think, is that me? Because I went from a phase of looking in the mirror feeling so uncomfortable, like, oh my God, like you've put on so much weight, to now looking at myself in photos and being like, wow, like I look slim, and people are messaging me saying, you look so great, what did you do? And I'm thinking, oh, okay, like this is me, this is the new me. So yeah, it's been crazy.
It's always it's always a crazy experience when you go from one to the other, and it becomes a crystallized version of you as well. One thing you said is all throughout your life you felt like you had comments, like negative comments all throughout your life, and now suddenly it's flipped the other way. That's another sort of, that's part, I'm guessing that plays into the identity crisis, and plays into the whole experience. Like, how's that affected you mentally? Do you care, or is it still playing?
I think where well, obviously I'd done this journey during lockdown, I've not seen many people, and then there was like a part in the journey where, because my brother started it, and naturally started all of us wanting to do it, including my parents. So my parents are on their own fitness journey, I'm on my fitness journey, my sister's on her fitness journey, and my brother is on a fitness journey as well. So where people would come and they'd see like all of us, we're all obviously losing weight, right? But I'm working 10 times harder losing the weight than any of my other family members are. So they'd be like, oh, to my dad, oh, you're looking great. Oh, Bijal, you look the same. And I'd be like, excuse me, like I'm working really hard here. Like I'm on that treadmill and these guys are not even doing that. And like, what? I think it just got to a stage where I was like, do you know what? Like people's opinions and thoughts don't define you. What defines you is how you feel, especially when you look in that mirror and you're looking at yourself, and on reflection of everything that I've been through, it's all about how you feel. And that's the thought that matters the most. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. And you know what? It's taken me a long time to come to terms with it. But yeah, like even now, like I, I don't think I care what other people say. I think sometimes it obviously does play a role in your overall kind of well-being. But yeah, now I'm just like, do you know what? I just don't care. I did this journey for myself. I'm feeling great mentally. I feel like I look great physically. Like that's fine. This is what I did it for, and I'm happy with it.
What do you see in the mirror now?
I see. I see strong B. I call my I was just going to say my pet name, but yeah, I see strong Bijal. You know, I see someone who shedded a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negativity. You know, every day when I was on that treadmill grinding, I was shedding away a layer of all these negative thoughts that have gone through my head. I was shedding all of that away. And so now when I look in the mirror, I feel proud. I know this might sound really sad to some people, but I printed out my photo shoot picture and I've put it up on my wall. And I know that might sound vain, but it's something I'm so proud of. You know, like I did that 100%. I stayed true to my plan. And there was hardly a time where I didn't tick a green box, you know, like it was always a yes for me. I followed it and it's changed me. And even like in the gym, you know, when I go, I used to find it so daunting. I used to be like, oh, these men are looking at me like they're looking at me with my 4 kg dumbbells, thinking, what is this girl doing? No, it's not like that. And you know, I've got to a really good stage with the gym as well, where I'm starting to enjoy it. Where we went through the lockdown and we didn't go to the gym at all. We were doing home workouts. And then going back to the gym after that, like I walked in and I don't know how to explain it, but I had goosebumps. I felt like I'm home. Like I don't know if anyone else got that feeling, but just walking into that gym just changed my mindset mentally, like in a positive way. But yeah,
I was on a radio segment the other day around women and how women feel in the gym, and how there's a perception that all guys are looking at you, that you're being judged, that you might be leered at, all these different things. And obviously, some cases, yeah, it's absolutely true. I think it's the very small minority that actually happens in a negative sense. But I think for many women in particular, there is that perception that everyone is looking at you, that you're being judged, that you're not in the right place. If you were to go back and give advice to yourself at that period, what would you say? And what would you say to other women who are feeling like that when the first time they're maybe going to the gym for a long time, they've maybe had bad experiences in the past and they still, feed off that? What would you say?
I would just say, why are you in that gym? Are you in that gym for them, or are you in there for yourself? And that's what I would say to myself as well. Looking back, I'd be like, why are you there? Like, you're in there for yourself. So be there for yourself. Don't worry about what all these other people are doing. Because like you said, yeah, it's probably true. Some people are probably looking at you. I live in Hounslow. The area I live in is heavily Indian populated. And there's a lot of mentalities on women and fitness within that. And that just goes without saying. And so, yeah, I know people are looking at me. But I think now people, well, the regulars anyways, I think the people who initially might have judged me, they smile at me now. And they see what I'm doing. And they'll talk to me. They'll be like, how's your fitness coming along? How's your gym coming along? And you know what? It's nice, but at the same time, you just have to remember, like, do it for yourself. It doesn't matter what other people think. You're in there for yourself, so be there for yourself. Don't go to the girls' gym. You know, some gyms have like a girls' section. Don't go there. They never have the weights that you can push to. They never have the equipment that you can push to. And why should you have to hide away just because you're a woman? Why should you have to hide away in the smallest part of the gym? No, go there, do it, be yourself, progress, look at yourself, focus on yourself. That's what I would say to anyone.
That's great, because on this discussion, the debate was that, should women go into women-only gyms? And I think I agree with you. I don't think that's necessary here.
I think there should be no, like anything in the world, there should be no gender gap when it comes to stuff, especially fitness, like especially for women in fitness. I think that there's a lot of kind of I think there's a lot of mentality that it's only men that can get six packs, or like even when I was going through the grind process, people were like, you're not going to get abs, are you? Well, yeah, so what if I do? Like, I didn't, but I'm just saying, what if I wanted to? Like, it's not just for men, it's for women too. And I think that's why it's such a big thing when women are in the gyms and doing their fitness journey and doing so well. Like, I'm so glad. When I started RNT, I was assigned a female coach, and I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't want this. I was really disappointed. But then I went and listened to her podcasts, and I was like, wow, I'm actually really glad that I've been assigned Sanj now. But now working with Sanj and seeing her transformation, seeing how strong she is, and just seeing that, like, it's been amazing. And I really look up to her. And even she's told me, like, there's been times where she's been in the gym and people have been like, wow, you're pushing that much. And it's been inspirational to me because that's helped me like overcome those kind of things.
Yeah, it's I think that's great. I really think, I hope women listening to this take some inspiration from you on that. And just go into the gym, focus on yourself, focus on progression, focus on your own journey, and block out the noise around you.
Yeah.
So you're 6 months post checkpoint, you're entering, or you're in your investment phase now. What the next couple of years look like for you? How do you want to progress in your fitness journey?
I just want to get strong. I don't have a picture in mind of how I want to look. It's just how I want to feel, and I want to feel physically strong. And I'm really enjoying the gym. I just want to keep pushing in some of like my compound lifts or some of my key lifts, just see how far I can go. I don't really have like a body goal in mind, but in terms of fitness, like, I just want to keep going. I want to see how much I can push in the gym and how far I can go with it.
Awesome. And how do you want to use first question is, how has the physical been the vehicle for you?
I think it's just changed me, like absolutely changed my thoughts, my values, my opinions, my priorities in life. And I think I've now got a really good relationship with food, and I've overcome the challenges that I've faced with comments over time, and I'm now starting to realize my worth, and it's not worth listening to other people. The only opinion that matters is my own. I think it's just helped me mentally. It's helped me become stronger mentally.
Amazing. To finish up, what advice would you give to someone who's at the start of their journey and is feeling a little bit scared, a little bit excited, and wants to get off to the best start and continue to make progress through their journey?
I would say, like, my first advice to anyone is, if you're on the journey with anyone else on a journey, do not compare your journeys. Focus on your own journey. And just remember why you're doing it. Everyone has a why. Write it down. Put it on your wall if you have to. But just remind yourself why you're doing it and enjoy it. Ask questions, learn, educate yourself. Go crazy in the gym. Do what you can. Push. Be the better version of yourself, and just keep going.
What's one thing you've learned about nutrition, food? You mentioned something about learning there. What's one thing you learned about nutrition that's just gone against everything you've done in the past?
That you can eat carbs and still lose weight. Honestly, I think there was, like, just because of the way I did keto, I had a really bad relationship with carbs, and I would avoid carbs. Even eating a banana, I just wouldn't do it. And it's just really nice to know that, you can eat carbs and you can still be healthy. And now, because I told you, I started off my journey with not much variety, just sticking to kind of foods I knew and liked. I'm now exploring. I'm now looking at different types of proteins and veg, and trying to explore maybe more the veggie side of things, because I always thought, well, you can't be veggie and hit your protein target without a protein shake. But actually, I'm starting to realize that's not true. So yeah, I'm starting to kind of explore food and see what works for me as well. Like, you know, everyone loves bread, but how does it make you feel after? So just kind of experimenting with food and seeing how I feel. I think I'm starting to realize that a lot of things that I thought was the case, like scale weights, numbers, figures, like it's none of it matters. It's all about how you feel. It's all about how you look at yourself and you want to be.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been quite an incredible journey. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you continue to grow and over the next couple of years. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks, Akash.